Indoor air study shows how risk slips past regulation. Indoor air quality has long been treated as a design issue, something addressed through ventilation rates, equipment standards, and periodic compliance checks. But new research suggests that this framework overlooks a major driver of exposure: how buildings are actually used day to day. The result is a growing governance gap where operational risk accumulates without clear regulatory ownership. A 2026 peer-reviewed study published in NPJ Climate and Atmospheric Science examined real-world office environments using a combination of indoor air sensors and motion tracking technology. Its findings point to a structural blind spot in how indoor environmental risk is understood and managed. What the study found: the research tracked particulate matter, PM, carbon dioxide, CO2, and total volatile organic compounds, TVOCs, in occupied office spaces over several months. While smaller particles such as PM1 and PM2.C were largely influenced by outdoor air infiltration, larger particles, PM0, were driven primarily by indoor activity. The study found that PM1 concentrations increased sharply during occupied periods, in some cases nearly 4 times higher than when spaces were empty. Human movement, measured through occupants' kinetic energy, was a stronger predictor of pollution levels than head count alone. CO2 and TVOCs showed similarly strong correlations with activity levels, not just occupancy. In practical terms, routine movement, walking, meetings, people circulating through shared spaces, materially alters indoor exposure conditions. These changes occur without any equipment failure or code violation, underscoring how exposure risk can emerge even in compliant buildings. Facilities, designed for compliance, operated for reality. For facilities teams, the findings highlight a growing disconnect between design assumptions and operational performance. Building systems are typically engineered around static occupancy models and average ventilation rates. They are not optimized for fluctuating activity levels, hybrid work patterns, or dense collaboration zones. As offices become more dynamic, facilities managers are increasingly responsible for managing air quality as a live operational variable rather than a fixed design outcome. Sensors, real-time monitoring, and adaptive ventilation strategies are filling the gap, but adoption remains inconsistent and largely voluntary. Risk: cumulative, invisible, and unassigned. From a risk perspective, indoor air exposure is neither acute nor accidental. It is cumulative, incremental, and tightly linked to daily behavior. That makes it difficult to assign within traditional enterprise risk frameworks, which tend to focus on discrete incidents or regulatory thresholds. The study reinforces that exposure risk can rise significantly without triggering any formal alarm. Over time, this raises questions about productivity, cognitive performance, absenteeism, and long-term health, factors increasingly material to operational resilience, but rarely captured in risk registers. Compliance, where the line currently ends. Most building and occupational regulations stop at minimum design standards or acute safety hazards. They do not address how human activity reshapes indoor environments once a building is occupied. As a result, compliance does not necessarily equate to low risk. This places organizations in a gray zone, legally compliant but operationally exposed. Until policy frameworks evolve to account for dynamic indoor conditions, responsibility for managing these risks will continue to fall to employers, facilities teams, and sustainability leaders. The indoor air study does not point to a regulatory failure so much as a regulatory boundary. As buildings become more data-rich and usage patterns more complex, the risks that matter most may be the ones emerging quietly, beyond the reach of existing rules. You've been listening to Sustainability Soundbites by Environment and Energy Leader. For partnership opportunities, please reach out to our team.